Senor Ortiz, are you ready to run this thing, brother?
Man, let's do this, man.
Let's do it. What do you do, KTTV? This is KT, and I am here with my co-host,
JoJo, baby.
Hey, I caught that boy earlier today, and you are tuned in to another episode of the Administrators Podcast. Look, y'all, I know y'all saying, why is this brother got the shades on? One, since the craziness been coming out, I've been watching a lot of this Shannon Sharp, so them boys always had the shades on, so I say, man, let me pop out. But two, because in this platform probing tonight, y'all, we getting to the bag, y'all. A lot of people always say, man, you'll never show the strategies on the platform probing. One, I do, so they don't watch. But two, tonight, we pulling out on these boys, man. Brother, how you feeling, man?
Man, I'm feeling good, man. This is good. I went to a card show yesterday. Didn't really know what to expect. It was like a collectors club show. Didn't really know what was going to happen, but it was, because I've been thinking about, getting a booth sometime either this summer or in November with the collectibles, taking them boys on the show, on the road.
Ooh, let's go.
But yeah, it was pretty cool. Bought some things yesterday. Tried to finagle for some, try to sell some stuff too. But them boys, they want to pay you 80%, but they want to charge you 200%. So no. So
man, and you couldn't get any good barters in or anything.
No, man, I didn't want to trade. I wanted straight sale, but
you want straight sale, man? Just give me my money. Hey, well, look, man. Okay, and like you say, once you be able to get a table, then you would just pack up, take all the transformers, everything, and so then people would come in and you could charge them the 200%.
Yep, that's right.
Man, that would not be bad, man. At least one or two trade shows, man, after a year or something, just to see how they work. At least to get more exposure, huh?
Yeah, and the good thing about yesterday though is that I got to see KT, man. There was this, Pokemon booster box that has 36 packs in it, right? From 1999. And they had a whole case unopened. So it had 6 of them booster boxes in there. You know how much they wanted for that thing?
Thousands.
1,600,000.
Wow. Bro, that's that golden right there, bro. King of collectibles. They want 1 million.
1,600,000 for 6 boxes of unopened Pokemon cards from the first year they were ever made. And they had the single boxes for around 300 each. Thousands.
But the thing is, I may be able to get in here and find one card that's worth 2 to 3 million.
You could.
Is that how I go, or is it better to just keep it all together and then just let it collect more?
Well, what I've done is what my strategy that I use is I buy either the booster box or different, if it's a booster box or an elite trainer box, I'll keep it closed. And so what I'll do is then I'll start selling those on eBay. If I'm looking for a particular single out of that particular set, at times it's probably cheaper just to buy it by itself, send it in, get it graded. Because if you spend, anywhere from $3 to $20 on one card, as opposed to buying all these packs, and then if it comes back at a gym mint, you could flip it for about $120, $200. Mm-hmm. And so I have several right now that I've gotten over time from opening the packs, and there's stuff that I bought singles of, that eventually in the next month or so, I'm going to send in. And then I want to set myself up for June, July, to go to a card shop or to go to one of these places and quite possibly charge someone, $150 to $200 for a graded Pokemon card or even baseball card. One more interesting note from yesterday, we were sitting there next to this dude trying to, looking at some of his cards, and he had like some cases set up, and there was a guy next to us that pulled out a luggage, one of those small carry-on luggages, $11,000 cash, KT, and he bought a whole stack of graded Pokemon cards for $11,000 cash.
Man, boys, this is big boy stuff right here, man. Big boy, man. Yeah, late, man. Look, hey, man. The biggest thing is, people will say, how does this go into stocks, right? And so you always think of, okay, what am I learning how to trade for, right? Am I learning how to trade just to keep on trading? Or am I learning how to trade to be able to put this money in other places to diversify the portfolio to get myself money in other ways? Because we know the key to life is to keep that bag coming. And these days you got to have about 6 or 7 of them just to get yourself through. So big shouts out to you, man. I know the work is gonna keep on going because, like you say, you got a market out here where people is paying. Somebody gonna pay that $1 million.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing is, man, keep that hustle going. But once again, y'all, this is just a testament to say you got to be able to make that money in the stock market, but don't give it all back. Find something else that you can put some of that money into that will keep that flipping, while then you go back and make the money that you just spent flipping it out somewhere else, because it can go down just like that. All right, bro. Let's get into a little bit of the news because we know that it is crazy out here. Let's go. News, because we know that it has been crazy in the markets. We got a lot of things going on with the China tariffs, semiconductors. And so as someone who is heavily invested in NVIDIA, whether it's through options or whether it's through shares, anything that I can look at to make me feel better as we go through this turmoil, I try to share with everybody. It's almost like going to my happy place for just a few minutes, Hold up, man. So what we got today, let me get my stuff here. What we got going on today is big shouts out to Market Watch. They said this common worry about NVIDIA is laughable, right? Because we understand what's going on in the world. Semiconductors, you see they got a little reprieve on the tariffs because we understand the importance of the semiconductors. The biggest thing that happened with NVIDIA was they were trying to sell the chips to China, and of course, it's a big holdup on there. So then they said they could lose up to $5 billion with that happening. Everybody went crazy. NVIDIA started to lose market share. So this is a reaction to that reaction, what I just talked to you about. So a Morgan Stanley analyst doesn't think we're in an AI bubble and expects NVIDIA to benefit from robust inference demand for the foreseeable future. Word about NVIDIA's corporate sales potential going forward. Hold on, wait a minute. What do you say? Morgan Stanley analyst Joseph Moore isn't. While some might be concerned that customers will need to pare back artificial intelligence hardware budgets as they work to digest current inventories, Moore shrugged that off in a Friday note to clients. And these were his words. The idea that we are in a digestion phase for AI is laughable, given the obvious need for more inference chips, which is driving a wave of very strong demand. NVIDIA's graphic processing units are used to both train AI models and to let these models draw conclusions based on new information, a process known as inference. Inference demand is explosive, which we believe should be durable. So they want us to they want those who want to see this as a bubble are manifesting that through various conversations about longer term data center leases. But it's hard to have that view when you talk to actual customers about actual demand, which remains strong. Basically, what he's saying is, if you worry about NVIDIA going down and you are not buying every time you see it go to 105 and below, you're cheating yourself. I think that is simply put, and I hope that you all start today. Man, what you got to say about that, Jose?
I agree with you in putting your money where your mouth is. I
Yeah.
too have some NVIDIA calls that I too refilled up on once they were, getting tore up a little bit.
Ooh.
And so now it's like, you think about what you have, and NVIDIA sitting at around $100, and so I got calls that expire in January of next year. So, um, any opportunity that you get to add to that, I would just, add to that and just keep adding.
Yeah, just keep adding, man. Give yourself time. Like you say, give yourself time. I got some leaps that don't expire until January 26th. I think I got a 140 call for 26. And so that thing did drop. So I think I'm up to maybe like 3 of them now
Hmm.
for 140 for 26. So let's see what we can pull out of this thing,
Man, man.
man. All right. So while we doing it, I guess it would be a good time. Let's run over and look at NVIDIA's chart just to show you all that any kind of news that they have, what happens, right? So let's go over here. We'll take a look at it. And then I'll bring the chart back up real quick. Hold up. All right, let's look at the full chart. So let's go over to, let's put it back on the stage here. And let's take a look at the chart. What are we seeing? I will go to our, I guess we'll go to our, you want to go to a daily chart, or
Yeah,
you want to go hour?
that day
Yep.
chart. Yeah, that's good.
All right, let's go to the daily chart. All right, so let's look at it. So all this here was the $5 billion talk. Oh, you're gonna lose, you're gonna lose. Then people say, wait, we don't believe you. And so then that's how we get back up here. But if you can see, hold on, wait a minute. If you can see right here, we
Hmm.
have a 60 EMA, and then we got a 200 EMA. If we can get past these, the sky is the limit. But you can see we also had some friction at this line here. And this, I didn't just draw this, so you could tell it was an important line from another time, because we have one touch, we got two touch. We tried to go back, but we got smacked back down, and then we got 3 touches. Depending on what happens, because this is a strong candle, we may get a little continuation, but we know they don't have earnings for another 31 days. So they are susceptible to the elements. Here we go. Let's go down a little bit. Let's peek a little bit more under the hood. Now, when we go over to our hour chart, we got that same line that I had drawn last time. And as we can see, we did have some resistance to get over 112.32. Looks like we were headed up. Soon as it came back down, buyer said that we should try it again. I'm thinking they are going to try it again, and we never know what may happen. Let's see here. But this is what I want to show you on the bigger scale of things here. This is the opening. What I did was I marked off the opening high and the opening low of NVIDIA from the previous day. Well, no, from the last day. From Friday, right? And so as we can tell, what happened? We popped open here, and then we just kept going up. Let's go to a 5-minute chart. Let's look at. Let's look at. Bam. So what we do it for NVIDIA, and that's why I say we could be getting some crazy stuff to happen this week. Because if we look at this chart,
Mm.
and let's see what we got. We had a little turbulence. This is our first candle right here. And that tells me that from out the gate, people was coming with it right here, man. That tells me I know what kind of day it's going to be. We got down to the bottom, and they were testing the low of the day. And what happened? We kick back up. So that tells me once we get over here, I'm buying. I'm buying. And look at where we went, y'all. Look at where we went. We went all the way to the top and we tested the high of the day. And now we are right here. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in platform probing, but just wanted to kind of show you the breakout that NVIDIA had. And so as people, I guess this story came out around the same time because it was April 25th. And so this would move the markets that day. So just wanted to kind of show y'all a little bit of that correlation, how news is one of those factors that does move the market. Anybody in this economy and this time is really just looking for anything, right? To just hold on to say, I want to be the first to jump back in because I know it's going. And so that's why you see people buying. And NVIDIA went $4.58 on Friday, 4%. All right, man. I guess what we'll do, let's take a quick break and then we will get into our heat check. Hold up. Let's go. You weren't ready for that one, was it, bro? You wasn't ready for that.
for that mellowed out beat. I was like,
hey, man,
okay.
that boy went back in the lab, man. We're back in the lab, baby.
Like, all
right, y'all. Let's get into the heat check. All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Administrators Podcast. We are now about to go into our heat check, where in this segment, we will look at our S&P heat map. We will look at our fear and greed index, and we will also look at our VIX. As we say each week, these are not the only tools that we use in trading, but this will tell us the market sentiment, kind of give us a look around to see what is going on in the market. Are people still fearful? Can we buy? And what could be coming up next for us. So let's take a look. First thing we will go to is our S&P heat map. Jose, man, I'll let you kick this thing off. What you seeing out here, man?
Oh, there's nothing on the screen yet. So
that's terrible. Bam. All right, man. What you got?
Well, what I noticed, last week and then now that it's on here, is a lot of the areas that were previously, red are tech sector. And then, of course, some of the Magnificent Seven had been bouncing around in the red for a while. But like KT was talking about, NVIDIA up 4%. I think it carried the tech stocks just because of what NVIDIA can do, what people are thinking about perhaps the future. Maybe there was an overreaction to some of the original ideas behind the AI bubble. But I do think that we had a relatively good run up Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Not bright green like NVIDIA is, but a lot of the other tech stocks were in the green. So if you are watching those, keep an eye on the S&P 500 and the QQQ based on these. One of the things too that I noticed here, or that I noticed, and now I can see it here. Apple's been steady. Apple got beat up for a while. Apple tried to make a move, and now we're still green with Apple. Not bright green, which is not always a bad thing, because you want steady growth at times. But keep an eye on Apple. Keep an eye on your heavy hitters like Amazon and Google, Meta. Because it's such a high valued stock right now. Bright green is usually good for it because of the sheer fact that it's a large price. But then, guys, I also, and one of the stocks again that I'm going to talk about, but I'll throw in a new one there later, but Tesla. A lot of people were anticipating Tesla's earnings last week. And no, they weren't great earnings. But one of the things that kind of helped move the market was the fact that, oh boy, Elon said that he was going to scale back his activities with the Doge, with DOGE. And so people took that as good news. Now, something else could be said this week, good or bad, but according to what was said last week, he's scaling back his involvement, which means he can focus more on Tesla, the company. And there was also some reports that I saw somewhere about their robo taxis. I don't know if they're planning to stop it right now or putting a halt to it, or they're just taking a break, or what's going to happen. So we'll have to make sure we get some of that news. Again, I don't know if it's going to be good or bad news based on whatever they say about the robo taxis. It could be done trying to get them fixed or get them to roll, and now they're just going to wait. But you never know. But the fact that Tesla ran, Nvidia ran, kind of helped the other tech stocks find their way to the green. It's a little bit darker green because there was some movement to the upside a little bit Wednesday and Thursday as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some of this, a little bit on the red side as well. You're far right though. All your Walmarts, your Costco's, your Coca-Cola, your Pepsi. I mean, those were not so great because I think some of the people were getting into tech. So
Yeah,
that's what I see
yeah.
when it comes to this, the chart.
So for me, I know that Tesla, I hopped on the call for a little bit as much as I could, and I think I remember hearing that they will begin robo taxi in June in
Mm.
Austin. And so I don't remember if that was June of this year or June of next year, but it may have been June of this year. I think they said they will start fully capable robo taxis in Austin. So that's one thing that'll be going on. And another piece for this map is looking at Verizon is always a key indicator for me on what's going on and where people are putting their money. Usually, when tech is down, Verizon is up. Simply because the growth stock, great with the dividends. But usually, when the tech is running Mag Seven, other pieces, that's when I'm usually seeing Verizon down a lot of times. And don't get me wrong, I do be waiting for it to come back down to a good place because that dividend for Verizon is crazy. So if I can get anything around $35, understanding that when the market drops, it's gonna run back up to $42, $43. And then you see what happens when the market back, you just sell and come back up, but you still keep some for the dividends, take a little profit. All right, man. Let's look at now our fear and greed index. And so right now, I just don't know if y'all were paying attention
Mm.
because we told y'all over
Mm.
here, you better start getting in where you fit in
That's right.
because eventually we're going to be over here, right? And so you still got a little time. You still got a little time, but just start getting you a little nibble, right? Because it could go back crazy over here. So just start getting you a little nibble, but you if we go back down here, you better start getting yourself together. So
Mm.
if you look 1 week ago, our previous we were in extreme fear 19. We are now 35. The previous close was 31. 1 month ago, we were at 30. 1 year ago, we were at 39. So right up in the same place. What is this? What month is this? April.
April.
Okay, taxes just got paid. Let's see what's about to happen. But man, what you thinking, Jose?
I'm thinking that we're gonna. I think we're gonna sit around here for a little bit. I do. I was looking at a chart earlier, and so I think that with the fear and greed, and based on the S&P 500 that I was looking at, I think that we will be sitting here for just a little bit before we start to move, back to neutral and then the greed. So um, if you haven't bought yet, I think you still, like KT said, you got a little bit of time. Um, I anticipate, just based on the sure downside that we were at, I think we can ride this out for a little bit more longer as far as, before we really start to make a comeback, because I don't know. Um, when I was looking at the charts, when I was looking at everything, it kind of looked like perhaps maybe the bottom was in, but a lot of people out there are talking a lot of crazy stuff about where we haven't hit bottom. But I got to say that if you look at the S&P 500 and you go from 630 down to where we were 480, I mean, that to me, that's just a big drop over a month and a half to be saying that we haven't hit bottom yet. So the numbers don't lie, data doesn't lie. Here we go from extreme fear to now fear. So slow indication of things could be getting a little bit better with your money. So I mean, you still got time to get in there. We can't hear you, KT. We can't hear you. You're muted.
That boy
There
felt
we
like
go.
the Zoom days. All right, here we go. Next, we will take a look at our VIX indicator. And so this is our volatility measurement. And right now, the VIX is at a 2484, which is a 6% decline, which it fell 1.63% to Friday. That was Friday. And so we can see April 25th, we started 2647 and we made our way down. And we always know that if this is going down, the market is going up and vice versa. We came back over here, $27, right? We got 27. But then what we see right here, we see that double
Double
topping,
top.
and then we head on back down, right? So now we just made a lower high, didn't kind of get too high in here. What happened? Smacked right back down. And so that was really, and I want, before we go that was the only thing I was kind of worried about right here. I mean, what I told y'all, we have the fear and greed, but we got this line right here. And so we just got a little above this same little area right here. But remember what I told you, we could get smacked back down, just like with the VIX, right? It's kind of pretty much the same. We come right here, see how we didn't get too higher. Look right here, that line goes all the way across. We barely getting higher. So that trend line, if I could do a trend, it would definitely say that we are coming down on the VIX, but we just never know what happened, right? All right, man, I think that'll do it. Jose, I know you got something good for us tonight, man.
I do, man. I got a couple of the usual suspects, but then I've got one, a newbie in there today. So,
all right, y'all. What we'll do? Quick break. Coming back. Trading with RT.
You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the
Trading with Ortiz. Let's go.
love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I.
Yes, sir. So, man, talk to me, man. What you got for us today, man?
All right, man. Let's get this going. All right. So the first one that I'm looking at, Starbucks. I love that Starbucks, and a lot of y'all drink and eat at Starbucks, and so why not, y'all? Okay, let's take a look at that year chart on Starbucks. And I just want to point something out that back not too long ago, y'all, before all this happened, Starbucks was at 115. If I have not mentioned Starbucks to you before, take heed right now. We were at 115, made some money off Starbucks, sold some stuff, left a couple of runners. They dwindled down. Still took a little bit of a profit, but nonetheless, we hit 115. We are sitting right around this number right now, 83, 84. So if we go to the 1 month chart, you can see that we have started to raise up from our double bottom that we had right here around 78. Now, we're only at a $5 difference, so keep in mind that this could be steady. We did break this, 78. We did eclipse and get up to around the 88. But I've been watching the price of coffee. And right now, I believe that coffee's been up and Of course, Starbucks moves with the price of coffee. So if you're not into those commodities like gold, oil, coffee, platinum, all those, I would get into the habit of looking at those. But 49.6, 50 right now, close to 50 on the RSI. I think we can go up a little bit. I think if we're looking at sheer chart numbers, we're looking at 85, then 86, and then we can make our way back to our 88. So, we got a couple movement, a little bit of movement before we, see a potential down again. So I did buy leaps. I do have calls that expire in January. And so we're sitting at around $100 calls. So that's a $15, $14 move from now for us if we anticipate that. And here's the one, y'all, that I was talking about earlier.
Hold on before you go,
Yeah,
Mr. Ortiz. I got a quick question.
yeah, go
Now,
ahead.
for Starbucks, I do know they did max out, but as far as I knew, the company was still in growth. And so, do you know or not if this is mostly based on the amount of business that they have in China
Yeah,
that they're back down to 85, or did something else happen?
yes, they had when that tariff hit, they dropped.
Okay.
Some this right here turbulence was when the market was starting to go down, and because people were taking their profits off of Starbucks, and there was another reason to sell. But it kind of steadied out a little bit before the news of the tariffs hit. They do a lot of business in China. They have a lot of overseas. So that's this drop in here was as a result of that. Then again, when they talked about that news to where not all the tariffs were going to hit at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
even though it was strictly related, or some of the news was more tech related. Starbucks did have a little bit of an increase here, and now we're trying to, we're consolidating back to around this $80 to $90 range. So yeah, this hit up in here from the 98 to the 88 was all about um, and I'm not 88 to the 78 was all about those tariffs in China and because of their
Okay. Okay.
business. And
Yes,
so
sir.
now with it steadying out, just like the anticipation of everything else, and coffee took a big hit too, coffee itself. But now coffee, the commodity is actually stabling itself out. And so I anticipate the same thing will happen with Starbucks. And so, as KT and I were talking about earlier, here's our, you know, beloved Tesla. Um,
Hey.
and we talked about this, y'all, when we were up here and we hit our bottom down here. Well, around the 200 area, 215 ish, and how we hit that double bottom, and we hit a triple bottom. Well, over the past, week and a half, Tesla has been steadying itself, right? People were getting ready for those earnings. You can see the green candle at the end because of the earnings. We did break through what would have been a double top, and we are inching toward another double top at around 283, 284. If we can break that, y'all, and we can get to around 290, I anticipate us getting back to 300 quickly. Um, I do see that we are, the RSI is close to 70 though, so we got to be careful. If we're going to be chasing
Mm-hmm.
right now, wait for a little bit of a pullback on Tesla,
Mm-hmm.
just because we've been running in the past, week or so. So um, now, the one thing that I will say sometimes about a stock like Tesla, whether it's for the good or for the bad, sometimes technicals get overshadowed by news. And if people still continue to think that this was good news, and whatever happens next week, like KT was talking about with these robo taxis, Tesla is going to run hard and fast in either direction. And we told you guys back down in here to be ready for a run in Tesla when we were sitting under 220. And so we got our little bit of a push right here. I believe that according to what happened in the earnings call, and then people anticipating that, and when he said what he said, this could be the start of a run for Tesla. That
Mm-hmm.
is my opinion. I think people needed to hear him say that he was going to focus more on Tesla. And when he did, um, if people were listening and people were watching, you guys know it's okay to be in the same stock over and over and over. And we've been talking about Tesla for a while. People were mad that he was doing the DOGE. People were mad about that. Tesla is still not a bad company, y'all. They're not going broke. They're not going to close down. They've got other things besides cars. And so having him say that, people were just mad at him. And so here you go. He said the right things. Donald J. Trump kind of helped him out, I guess, a little bit. And there you go. Before we get into the other one I was going to talk about, let's go back to another Old Faithful. And why isn't it coming up? All right, Apple. Now, we all know not too long ago, Apple was around 250, 260. Again, we were pushing 250, bottom fell out, and then 225, some more, the bottom fell out. If you listen to the show and you were there when we said Apple is around 170 to 175. I know we talked about Apple. And if you got in there and now you're going to ride it out, because sometimes news does go in favor of those that have been destroyed a little bit. So areas of concern right now, RSI is 60. We have been going from our bottom at 170. We are now at 208. That's a $38 difference, y'all.
$38.
$38. If you listened to us here, that arrow big right there, because we talked about it. We knew something was going to happen, and now we can get back to this 211 area before we hit a double top. And then I anticipate a consolidation here, maybe even a little bit of a sell-off. But I do, guys, if we break 210, 211, we can get back to 225 easily.
Yep.
Say that one more time. If we break this area of 211, 212, we can get here, y'all. There's nothing in the way. Nothing is in the way. And we are slowly creeping up that way. So pay attention to Apple. Keep in mind the 61 RSI. So that does mean that there could be a little bit of an anticipation of a drop. So keep that in mind. Okay, here we go. The new one on the block today, Texas Instruments.
TI-83.
Yeah, that's right. We all had them calculators back in the day. So semiconductor chips, they got it going on with all that. They're out here in Texas. And so if we look at the most recent February highs of 205, nothing in the stock has changed. They did have a little bit of earnings that were not as good as anticipated. Then, of course, everything happened with the semiconductor news. So we took some dips, tried to consolidate, and now we are back. So think about this bottom that we hit 144, and then 144 again, double bottom hit here. We are now over the moving average. And so if we anticipate a little bit of growth from the 162 area, perhaps we can get to 164, 165. We can break that. We're back around 260, 168, 170 from where we're at right now at 157. That's a $13 difference. If we can get there within the week, maybe you can do a month call. Maybe you can do a 2-month call and take your profits whenever they come. Keep in mind that we are sitting at a 59 RSI. So if you're going to move into the stock now, what I would do is I would do it for a month or maybe a June call. Maybe you do that 175, 180, maybe even a $200 June call if you can afford, if that's the one that you can afford. Remember, any movement to the upside makes you money. If you're paying $60 for a call, that's a $200 call that expires in June, and you pay $60 to $70 for it. You have a good chance of it running up to over 100. So just keep that in mind, because we are at the 60 RSI. which means we got a little bit of room to go up. So like I said, if you anticipate a move to the 168, 170. Now, if you want to go long term, because I do believe this is something I'm going to be adding to the January portfolio on Monday. If we have a little bit of a decline in the price, so Texas Instruments, TXN, I'm high on them. Semiconductors of movement in NVIDIA's making the way. Of course, you got your solid, all your other one, AVGO, you got AMD. But I do think that trying to get in on this TXN is going to help you out.
Yes, sir. All right, man. Well, that will do it for Trading with Ortiz. All good picks, man. Tesla, like you say, you just never know what's going to happen. But the biggest thing is the brother is back from the Doge stint. So let's see what they got going on up their sleeve. All right, we appreciate you, Mr. Ortiz.
Yes,
when
sir.
we come back, we will go right into some platform probing and then get ready to land this plane. We'll be right back. Platform probing. Let's go. Whoa. Whoa. That ain't the right one. Right there. All right, y'all. So in platform probing, I just every day, right? I'm steady trying to build up because for me, I have been fixated on becoming a consistent day trader because I know that it does not take long to make $10,000. And so I think with this, you got to know your technicals. And so we get into our charts each week, right? We steady talk about our charts, but now we have to learn strategies. And so today, what I want to do is jump on and I want to show you a strategy that I simply use to get the bag, right? And so they always say, what does that prep look like when you're getting ready for a day in the market? What does happen? What can you do? So the last strategy I showed you all was the 15-minute opening candle strategy, which kind of gives you the trend for today. This time, I want to kind of give you a range that will kind of tell you what the price may be looking to do for that day. And what I call that is the opening range breakout, right? And so the first thing that I want to do the night before when I'm getting ready for this is I want to go and I'll go over to my day. Well, what I'll do, let's go from scratch. All right, can you see that screen, Jose?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what we'll do, y'all. Let's take these off here and we will go from scratch. So we just removed our indicators. And what I'll do is I go over to my daily chart, right? And I want to say, where was that opening and that closing candle at the end of Friday? So I got a candle here and I have a candle here. If you see those dotted lines, that is also because I put alerts there because once again, I mark those because we are going to test one of those Monday. I don't know which one, but if I'm right, I'm gonna get paid. So this is what we got. I just did my opening and closing of my last daily candle. That tells me where we could be trading within for Monday. Now, if we look, I already got clues, right? So let's go back and look over here for our, and let's go 5 minutes. Let's go 5 minutes. So this is what I want to show you. We just did our opening and close range. what this range tells us is this is supply and demand zones, right? This is where I had the most buyers. At the top here is where I had the most sellers. So that tells me my trade is never really in between. And I'll explain what will make me take a trade in between. But really, I never want to trade in the middle, right? I either want to trade when we test this line here or when we test this line up top. And we're talking about that line test is how much is this right here? 543, right? And so we go 543 all the way up to 550. That's a $7 move, which could be life-changing if you have 0 DTE options. But you got to be able to know how to ride that thing. And so this is what we're looking at right here. The candle opened up right here. This is where our day started. Remember what I said. Look at this line. My trade is not in the middle because right here, I don't have anywhere to go unless I catch me a quick something to the downside. But I'm not going to come in that fast. But look what happened. Look how quick inside of the day that we tested the bottom of that range, right? And so this is 10:30. 1 hour later, we test the bottom of that range. First, look at this candle right here. This candle tells me we tried to go down, but that line was support. We did not break. Buyers came in. Right here, same thing. You cannot see the wick because my indicator, which I got to change. But if you can tell a little bit in there, you see another strong wick. You see another strong wick. That tells me there is a lot of support. And remember what I told you all. I only marked this line because this is where the most buyers were all yesterday, right? Nothing could get lower than this line. That means buyers are in the building. So then what does that tell me? I'm going to buy, right? I'm going to buy. And what I'm going to do is I'll probably set my stop loss and I'm just going to draw that line for good measure. So I'm buying right here. My stop loss is probably right here. And that way, if anything does go awry, then I'm going to get out of there and I'm going to wait and see what happened because sometimes this 200 can act as a magnet and it will draw it. But right now, I'm going off of what I see. Remember what we say, we trade what we see, not what we feel. And what I see is these buyers are stepping in. I buy in and the next thing I know, I get this big move that's going to the top right here. So this is the top of the range. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sell, right? I just made some money. I just went from, let's say we went from 544 all the way up to 550. That's a $6 move with 0 DTEs. Just think, man. You got 10 of them. $30 theta. Come on, man. Come on, man. And so that's just on the 1 minute chart. It looks so much crazier on the I mean, that's on the 5 minute chart, but it looks so much crazier when you're on the 1 minute chart. I almost have to trade. Oh my God. Hold up. I almost have to trade on the hold up, man. Let me close that. I almost have to trade on the 5 minute chart to kind of block out some of that noise. But once again, I'll show you all where we at right here. Where we at? 25. I'll show you where the day starts. So remember what I told you, around 10:30. So I'm on my 1 minute chart. This is what I see. And then all of a sudden, I buy up here and it never touches my stop loss down here. Never. And that 1 minute chart, that look forward. We're going to put that thing right there. Never touches my stop loss, which means I am still in the trade. Boom. It drops below. So now once I'm in this trade, I'm going to my 5 minute. I just jumped in on the 1 minute. I'm going to my 5 minute. And we're going to watch what happens with this trade. Hold on. Let me get back over here. Yeah, so we're going to watch what happened with this trade. and I never really had to come out that trade once I'm in, because it never gets back down to this area, right? But I know that my middle line could be some issues. So I'm not going to buy. I mean, I'm not going to keep holding, especially look at this candle right here. That's so much profit out in blue. So what I do, I look for my signs. Once I start seeing something come down, this tells me, and once again, this is my midline, sellers, let it go. And then this is what happened. But now we get back above this line, right? And so now you can say, okay, I go for a break and a retest of that line. We got back in. Now what I want to look for is full confirmation that I can get back in for another ride. And what happens? This line right here is my confirmation. And the reason that's my confirmation is because there is nothing on this bar. That means I have broke above the EMA and I am all clear inside of space. And for me, that is my confirmation to say it is time to go in. And what happens? I put my stop loss probably below the 60. I'm gonna go below the 20. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go below the 20 because I know that under the 20, the trend is about to change. But as long as I stay above that 20, really long as I stay above this 9, I might just cut when it break the 9. But as long as I stay above that, boom, I'm in profit again. That's another trade, right? So we already hit 2 trades inside the same range. Now I come over here and I say, okay, I got to make a decision because I'm back at the top. So now this is what we're talking about for coming up for Monday. We got 2 choices. Either we are going to come back up and we're going to test this line and we're going to break from this range. But I will go back and I will show you where we at here. Hold up, wait a minute. We got big rejection, but why do we get big rejection? Well, where's that line? Where's the chart at? Oh, where's that chart at? I think it may be a 1-hour chart there. Damn. So we got that rejection. Dang, I can't find it. So this may not be the right chart. Okay, I thought we had a 200. Maybe that was the test. But either way, we got 1 test. Now we coming back with our second test. That could be double toppy. And that could send us down on Monday morning. All right. And so what we looking at is we got 2 things that could happen Monday. We could do this double top tap right here. And then we're going to come down and we're going to test this line, which is what we've been doing. And then we're going to here and take off. That could be one option that we have, but we could also get a deep pullback, which will bring us back down to the bottom of this line. And then we may work ourselves back down because we got so many naysayers out here in these streets. So the biggest piece I'm telling you is I have been preparing myself for both scenarios. And so I'm ready because I know the trade for tomorrow is going to happen into these lines. And if not, I'm going to do a break and retest of the lower one. But right here, I know that if I see another candle and it rejects off of here, then I think I got to get into that trade, my boy. Got to get into that trade to the downside, and I'm going to try to play it and see if it gets down here. If I can get here and I see a little bite back, I'm going to get out the trade, but I still made some money from here to here. But once again, I'm either here or here when I'm getting into that trade, and I may can ride this thing back down $5 to $6. All right, man. That's that platform probing. I hope that helped somebody, man. Was that clear, Jose?
And that was pretty good, man.
Okay. I appreciate it, man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, all right. Because now I was looking at one of my charts to look at that and see just to see if I could really understand where you were getting those 2. And it's good, man. That's real good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, man. You know when the professionals say that's good, y'all, we're going to just take that real quick. Hey, all right, y'all. That will do it for our platform probing. If you miss anything, please do not hesitate to reach out, ask any questions. Go back and rewatch this 30 times if you have to. But the biggest piece is understanding where did the stock close and open on the day before. And it's always going to want to go test one of those ranges. So either it's going to test to the top or it's going to test to the bottom. You seen what happened once it tested that bottom, took straight off after double bottom and then went up. And now we are here at our double top. Let's see what we got because we may be headed back to the bottom. We'll check that sentiment for tomorrow. I think that will do it. I know we didn't get to our market outlook for this week, but we'll try to get that back in for y'all next week. And I think that's it. Any final words before we close the door?
What, if you are in the green and you do always make sure that you have an exit strategy. I'll just make sure, because if you ride some calls this week for a month or two out and you don't want to wait the long game, just make sure. And even like with KT with the day trades, make sure you have an exit strategy.
Yes, sir. Hey, failure to plan is planning to fail. Absolutely. All right, y'all. That will do it for the Administrators Podcast. I am KT and my co-host
JoJo Baby.
Hey, we will see y'all next week.
This is Darnell with Broadcast Houston.
This is Dr. Tamara Beckford.
Hey, this is Candace.
This is London Underwood.
This is Kirsten Bass with Inner City Greens, and you're watching.
Y'all are now tuned in to
KTTV.
KTTV.
KTTV.